So, fun thing we're going to do is rename this file.
First try.
Oh, that's not going to be first try.
Now before the fail.
Yeah, I'm still not going to get it right first try. So I'm going to call this product form fields because it's going to be the fields of the form. And then we'll do export const product form fields. And then return nothing for now. Cool, there's a start. Then let's go grab all the fields from here.
You guys still use the anonymous declaration?
Do what?
You guys use like the error function for defining and stuff?
Yeah. Okay, and then we'll just pop that in right there. All missing imports. Totally didn't work. And then let's make our context. And I'm going to go back and see how they do it. It's form context. Here we go. So just copy this thing right here. That, and then use product form and product form provider. There we go. So then we'll go product form values. It's going to be a type. And this just has a name and a description. Okay. So that part's done. So then we come back in here and we say const form equals this thing right here. We have an extra container somewhere, I feel like. And I'll change all of these to use this form instead. Perfect. So let's go to our create page. We're going to need this. Just call use product form. Don't need that because it's typed elsewhere. Add that. And we're going to need that soon. What's it called? And we need this. Form equals man time form. See, I told you it wouldn't be first try. I don't know what I did this time. Okay. Back to their documentation. Do that, do that. See? That's why I just don't report in class. I named them wrong, I bet. Did I? Use form. Okay. What does it think this is? Oh. Caution about control dot, if it's not exported and you just do control dot enter before you look at stuff, it'll just declare a function for you that just does nothing. So just be aware of that. Now everything should work. So took our form fields out of here so we can reuse those there and here. Product form provider, give it the form as this, and we change this to just be use product form. Okay. So now we have our form fields in one file, and our create and update use the same fields once I change this part. Perfect. Make sure it works before I tell you perfect. There we go. Another one. Just trying to load the images still from last class. So there we go. Can anybody tell me the benefit of doing it this way, even though it seemed convoluted? You only have to change it in one place. Let's say that I add an image URL to a product. I don't have to go to my product update and my product create and change it. I just go to my form fields, and I can just add another input for the URL. And it's there in create and update, and it'll automatically put the values in there for update if we configure it to do that. And it'll all just work. And you don't have to have copied code in a bunch of places. You can just genericize it to a certain degree. There's even more fun ways you can go about it, but I'm not going to get into that. That would involve even more live debugging, and I'm terrible at that. If you want to learn about it, though, if you want to look up, let's see. Generics. You can look into those. They're fun. They can be any type, but they're strictly typed. It's very confusing, but it's very cool. Any questions? No? Right, a little bit? Problem. Questions? I don't think so.
Oh, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So why is form provider blue?
Better blue this, because this is a component that's being rendered, not a function. It returns out a component, so or not a. It's like a wrapper for components. That's what we use right here. It's what's called the provider of the context, and like everything inside of those two open and close tags has access to the form that you pass into it. That's how we get these things right here have access to the form, even though we didn't like pass it in as a prop. Use product form. No, because this is declared to use this right here. Sorry. So yeah, you don't need to. It doesn't need to have access to the form yet because it's just creating the context. When you use this, it sets like the form variable inside of the context, and then everything can use that afterwards. Let's see if I can show generics. Type is bar. Bar is not of type foo. It's of type T. But what does that mean?
Or is it not a string?
No, it's a number. Because I said I passed in a number to the type of foo. This is the type that I pass in. Bar inherits that type, or gets that type. And whenever I declare this is foo of type number, bar has to be a number because I said bar is whatever type I pass into you. And then if I do,
So it's kind of like R.
yeah. But now bar can't be a string, or it can't be a number because I said it's a string.
Oh, that's why it's even here. Because
Yeah. So if I change this to be 1, 2, 3, 4, it's fine. And if I make that a string, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's fine. But because I said it's going to be a string, I can't make it a number.
So,
So the reason why you would do that is so you can have like generic functions that can take in parameters and you have type safety when you're using that function elsewhere. So it's really useful in like components where you can genericize a component. But once you declare like, actually a good example is man times form. So if I go into my form fields, I said that I'm using the product form, right? And that has the values of name and description, okay? This function right here only allows me to use name and description. But how does it know that? Because I could use technically the same use form hook anywhere with a different type, and it would know, because you gave me this type, you can only use name or description. Or you can only use image URL and name, whatever it may be. That's because they use generics when they're building out their use form hook. It takes in a T, and whatever that T is what all the other functions have access to inside of the form. But this is basically how it works. You do not have to know that at all. Not required. We'll probably learn it way later on. But I think it's really fun.
That says,
Oh, yeah.
It's just generics. If you want to learn it, here's the URL. It says,
That's true. Our API response is a generic. That's why whenever you do like your API.get and you do like API response of whatever, it's because you say the data is going to be what you passed in. Generics. Link did I put here? Oh, generics.
yeah. You started looking it up, and I was like, in my head, I was like, I'm pretty sure that's already there.
T just stands. We do T because it's like type. You can use whatever you want. Like this could be like A B C D. It would work. But T is just like type. Yeah, it's whatever you want it to be. So this type can be anything, but it's also strictly typed. Pretty confusing, right?
no, I think I got it.
You know what generic says? Now you can make me a good old
All right, I want a 10-page report on generics by Tuesday.
What about that export any?
Oh yeah.
What's up with that?
Yeah. Where am I using this at? I'm not. Don't worry about that.
It's like you stole it.
Use something
Let's see if I can make this work. And this would be So you can do like indexing on that, kind of like you would normally do in an array, like index 0. You can do that anyway, but this, if I configured it right, is like kind of type safe. Don't worry about it. But the type any just means it can be whatever it wants to be. You could also, if you wanted to, no. Any is not type safe. T is type safe. So remember how here I can't make this a string. If I say it is any, I can. And if I say that this is now any, it can be whatever. It doesn't care if I give it a number because I say it can be any. So T is type safe, any is not. Any questions? Again, none of this matters. All I really wanted to show was the moving your fields elsewhere, mainly because it kind of gives a good idea of like how to abstract your code and make components. You don't really necessarily have to do it, but it kind of gets you thinking in the mindset of how to abstract code away from copy pasting and just using it in multiple places, but only having one instance of it. What's up, Steven? You made a face.
The label HTML4.
Label HTML.
Right where your mouse is.
Oh, yeah.
I just didn't notice it before.
Yeah, you don't have to do. Fun fact: I wrote this like when I was transitioning the starter from a different language. Mantone has a really cool thing that you don't need to do any of this. I think I kind of went over this in the video. You can just do like text input. You can give it a label.
Yeah.
And required, and it looks a lot better. I mean, it looks basically the same, but it looks better in code.
Yeah.
So if you go to create, yeah, it's not in the container,
Yeah.
but yeah. I would recommend that over what I did. But yeah, you get like the cool little asterisk, and then you don't have to have a bunch of layered containers and divs and labels and yeah. The old UI library didn't have that, so I didn't feel like rewriting everything. I just kind of like changed the components to be what they should be and left it. So. Equals. It's also a good idea to have required tags on all your inputs for things that are required. Do as I say, not as I do, okay? Yay. Good. It's also touching the input, which is ugly. I don't know if I went over this. I think I went over it in the video. But I think they have a really cool like space.
Yeah.
Have you seen this, Gabe? Mantone has a space component that just adds space between two other components. It's great.
They're not borrowing space anymore?
It's great.
I bet you that's.
No, it's just a div that like it's whatever height you set it at is that height, or the width is whatever the width. It's got 0 width and like 10 height.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I manually. So fun fact: the old UI library we used is called Semantic. They didn't have like a horizontal divider; they had a vertical one. Wait, horizontal and vertical. They didn't have a vertical; they had a horizontal.
Yeah. Okay.
So I had to make my own, and it was literally just a div with no width and then like a border of 1 pixel. All a divider is, it's a div that just has a 1 pixel border. Yeah. But I made it a component, so you can just say divider.
Vertical.
Yeah.
Officially good enough on the screen.
Nice. Any other questions? If not, y'all can leave. I want to go play The Last of Us, so.